everyone, it's Amy, GablesStitcher here on YouTube and on Instagram, and today is June 27th, 2024. I figured this was a perfect time to do a mid-year wrap-up of cross stitch. If you're new here, welcome. This is my little corner of the internet where I talk about pretty much all things cross stitch and occasionally books. Cross stitch is one of my hobbies, and I have been sharing my projects, my finishes, my starts, and pretty much everything cross stitch here on YouTube for the last, I don't know, maybe five, maybe 6 years at this point. It's been a while. So for those of you who keep coming back, thank you. I also like to talk about books. Books is another one of my hobbies. With this year being a mid-year wrap up, at the end, I'm going to give you my top 3 picks so far this year for what I've read. If you're not interested, that's fine. All cross stitch will be over by then, but I do thank you for coming to hang out with me today. That being said, let's get to the cross stitch. I didn't feel like I have stitched very much this year, and I feel like I say that often on these videos. When I pulled it out, it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. I think I've stitched every day this year with the exception of 2 or 3 days. That being said, some days I have only stitched 10 stitches. No lie. I've picked up the needle, put a few stitches in, and that was it. So it all averages out in the end. That's what I've learned over the years. I am not a big stat keeper when it comes to, numbers of stitches and all that, but I did kind of compile a little list of how many projects I worked on so far this year. So consider this your table of contents, just because I was interested. So at the start of 2024, I had 40 works in progress, or WIPs. I have decided that 40 is too many for me. I am an out of sight, out of mind person. So when I put a project away, I kind of forget about it and I don't pick it out again. My oldest work in progress is from 2003, not 2013, not 2023, 2003. So yeah, when it goes away, sometimes it doesn't see the light of day for decades. So this year I really wanted to focus on bringing my WIP total down. Where do I stand on June 27th? Well, I have 40 WIPs. So it hasn't gone down, but it also hasn't gone up. And that being said, I have made significant progress on a lot of my projects, and I have 4 projects that are very, very close to a finish. So the other thing is I really like big projects, so they take a while to finish. I'm happy with my stitching so far this year. I did go up to 41 at one point, so there is a little bit of a reduction there. I have started 4 things. I have finished 4 things. And I have worked on 16 projects total. So stop yapping, Amy. Show us the cross stitch. So I'm going to show you the finishes first. I have no fully finished objects, and that has been a bit of a problem for me the last couple of years. I stitch things and I don't fully finish them. So that's a later Amy problem, but I'm thinking sometime this year Amy problem, because we need to address that backlog. First project I finished this year is from this book by Blackbird Designs called Joyous Noel, and it's that sampler that's on the cover. Unfortunately, this is an out-of-print book and can be hard to find, but no worries, Blackbird Designs has tons of beautiful books that are still in print. I'll put up a picture of where this was when I first started it, when I started the start of the year. And you can tell I haven't done this in 2 months. In January, where this project was. And here is the project completed. I stitched this on 40 count Maritime White by Lakeside Linen. It's just a little piece I had. I stitched it with all the called for overdyed flosses, and I am very happy with how it came out. There are some specialty stitches in it. There are some eyelets, some Smyrnas. There was supposed to be a 4-sided cross stitch, but I did leave those out. And the only modification I made is I changed the date to the date of one of my great aunt's birthdays because she always makes me think of Christmas. So that was the only thing I changed. The bookshelves double as where I can put my projects. So that was my first finish of 2024. Second finish was a small sampler by Kathy Barrick. It's called a Christmas Reindeer Sampler. I will put up a picture of where it was when I first came into this year. I started this in late 2023 and couldn't quite finish it. And here's the finish. I finished this early this year as well. This is on a 46 count linen in the called for DMC floss. It is very tiny. I mean, it's smaller than my hands. And that was a fun little stitch. So in my head, I've been trying to finish things in 2s this year because if I'm trying to reduce my projects number, if I start things in 2s, finish things in 2s and start things in 1s, they should go down, theoretically. Joyous Noel, I started, I think, in 2021. So neither of those was really a long-term project. My next finish was my first start of the year. This is called Sunday Morning Memories, and it is a kit from Elsa Williams. It is an old kit, still pretty readily available on the secondhand market. I started this in January of 2024, and I finished it in April, I believe. And this is the finish. So I stitched it with the kit floss, what it came with, which I'm pretty sure was DMC. I did replace the fabric. It came with a 14 count Aida, and I just did not want it that big. So I subbed out a 18 count white Aida. So still an Aida. And I am really happy with how that came out. I don't think I can get the whole thing in. Let's see. Oh, maybe I can if I go back far enough. So it's a good size piece. Really, it's one of those that it's, you know, it's a kit. It has some half stitches and a lot of blends because this is before overdyes. I want to say the kit's from the 1980s, but it really, really came out beautiful. There is a companion piece to this kit. I forget what it's called. I have the companion piece, and my plan is to stitch the companion piece next year and then put them in matching frames. So, sorry about that. I forgot to put my phone in airplane mode, and we ended up with a phone call. So, I think I was talking about this. So this was start and a finish, but not a SAF because it was not a start and a finish with a lot of stitching in between. So this was my newest project in 2024. And to bookmark it, I finished my oldest project. And this one is the one that was from 2003. So this is also a kit. It was from The Heart's Content, who is Maureen Appleton, I believe. You can still find her charts and her kits. It's called Splendor 5, and I will have put up a picture of where it was at the start of 2024. This project is overwon on 36 count linen. There is a reason it sat for 21 years. And this is the finish. It is stitched with a single DMC color. I think it was 823. And I am really happy with how it came out. So just on 30, I think it's 36 count raw linen. Her stuff is gorgeous. It's very simple, but very, very beautiful. Now, ironically enough, I also finished this in April, but the stitch count on this project and this project is about the same, because this is on 18 count Aida and this is on 36 count, and they are both over 1. So for every 1 stitch of this, you can fit 4 stitches on this in the same space. So I didn't realize that until I was done with this project, because I was thinking like, man, this is taking forever. But I want to say this was almost 350 stitches long, like lengthwise. So it's a big piece. So those are my 4 finishes thus far this year. 1 small one, but the rest of them all good size. All right, I'm going to pause again so I can put these away and go grab my works in progress. Projects I've worked on that I have not finished yet this year. All right, so now I'm back with a big pile, and these projects are ones that were WIPs or works in progress going into 2024 and are still WIPs now as we stand here at the end of June. 4 of these are really close to a finish. Actually, 2 of them and 2 projects I started that you'll see next. But really close doesn't count in cross stitch, just like it doesn't count in horseshoes or hand grenades. Probably dating myself with that little saying there. The first project is nowhere near close to a finish, but it's on scroll rods and I'm holding it, so let's talk about it now. It is And They Sinned by Exemplar Dames. I will put in a picture of where I was at the beginning of the year, and I will try to put a picture in of the project completed. This project is really hard to try to find a good picture of it completed because it is 3 feet long when completed on 40 count linen. I said I like big projects. I cannot lie, and I wasn't lying there. So my goal going into 2024 was to finish this project this year. I can tell you now it's not going to happen because I haven't worked on it as much as I should have or could have, right? This is cross stitch. There's no rules. And this is where I am now. So I finished that Adam and Eve scene, finished all that grass. There was a lot of grass there. Moved down to the peacocks, disco turkeys, and started in on an alphabet. I do still have cloud fill in at the top, and actually I might work on that soon. I do like some nice fill in for the brain. This is stitched on a 40 count vintage country mocha linen, which is a printed linen. The back is this color and the front has some modeling on it. And I like this linen for samplers. It gives a little interest without being overwhelming, in my opinion. So, no goals at this point for the rest of the year, just to enjoy stitching on this. I am using my own color conversion. I'm just pulling out from my threads that I have what I think will look good. And I'm really happy with the way it's coming right now. Next project, this is one that is almost at a finish. This is Plum Street Samplers Spring Moon. I love this design. I'll put a picture in of where it was when we went into the year. I really want to start Summer Moon, but I am making myself finish this before I do. And as I said, we're not quite there yet. I started this project with a cross stitch friend, Lisa, and I also have worked on it with a bunch of people that I sat with at the Stitch New England retreat. They all finished it. I don't know if Lisa's finished, but the ones from Stitch New England retreat finished it. I have not. So you would have seen a picture of where it was when it came into the year, and here it is now. I'm going to hold it back so you can see the colors. This is on Winter Wishes by Fabrics by Stephanie. It is a really subtle, dusty purple color, which gets washed out in the camera, but more so when I hold it up close. And I love this. I'm stitching this with the called for. The fabric is 40 count, so I'm using 1 thread over 2 linen threads. The only change I made in the pattern are these tulips at the bottom. They were called to be stitched in a lighter green, and I wanted blue tulips, so they're blue. So all I have left is, say all, it's probably still a lot of stitching. This flower that's as big as a house right here, and I have that flower at the top and a little more fill-in. So still some stitching, but I call it close to a finish. I got burned out. I was working on it nonstop for a bit and I put it away. And like I said, when I put things away, I forget about them. And that's one reason that Flosstube's been good for me, because when I pull them out to show you all, I'm like, I do really like working on that. Let me pull it out and finish it. So next project. This is a very old Mirabilia, Touching the Autumn Sky. Unfortunately, this is out of print. I think it's pretty hard to find, but I have a good friend who lent it to me. And I really want to finish it so I can get it back to her, because I know somebody else is waiting for the chart. I'll put a picture in of where it was when we first came into this year. And here it is now. I am closing in on that finish. Obviously, our little girl is headless. She needs a head, a little more scarf, some hair, and then it needs to be beaded. There are not a lot of beads on this. It probably needs less than a week's worth of work. This is on a 32 count solo die by, Silk Weaver. Brain was not working there. It's a Wexford linen, which is nice and even for something like a Mirabilia. And you can see this is, as I was pulling up my projects, I noticed a lot of projects like this. There's the needle. Halfway through, it's just like, nope, done, going away. This is why I could never be a one at a time stitcher. But I think 20 might be the right number. We'll see. It's a hobby. I'm not stressing over it. So that one's close to a finish. Next project that is very close to a finish. This is Halloween Ride. And this is Yasmin Made with Love. Put a picture up of where it was at the start of the year. And this is where we are. Once again, another hanging thread with the needle. This is very close. All I have left on this is to finish the pumpkin fill-in. And Mr. Owl, who is so dapper, has a couple of colors of DMC around his eyes. I need to pull it out. This is on a 32 count fabric by Barefoot Needle Arts. I don't remember the name of it, but I really like their fabric. This is stitched with colors that I pulled, once again, from my thread collection. Can I just say I love this orange for the pumpkin with that variegation on it. That is Color and Cotton Salamander. Fantastic orange. So I'm gonna order myself another skein because I am really happy with how that is stitching up. Touch in the Autumn Sky was also 2 threads over 2 linen threads on 32 count. And that's all called for, and that's DMC. All right, so those 3, very close to a finish. I would like to say those are the 3 I'm going to focus on going into July, but no promises. We'll see. Next project is nowhere near a finish. I will put any picture of the project and where it was at the beginning of January 2024. This is a design by Heaven and Earth Designs. Well, it's a painting charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It's called A Place of Her Own. I am doing this over 1 on 25 count even weave, and here it is now. I really love stitching on this. Love, love, love. And I have not stitched on it enough this past year. I think I'm about 13% through. And this year I found the bunny, which made me really happy. If you want to see this almost complete, go watch Lydia. I'll link her below. I think it's Lydia's Leisurely Adventures is her Flosstube channel. She is very close to finishing it, and it looks fantastic. 2 more. So I have done very well this year of focusing on a project for a considerable length of time. Like I said, I mean, I have like 18 projects total for the year, but that's over 6 months. That averages out to 3 a month. So my goal when I've picked up a project has been either to work it to completion or work it to the point where the next time I pick it up, I can complete it. And for the most part, I think I've done that. This one, not quite. This one's At Home by Brenda Gervais. Actually, the next 2. I'm going to make liars out of myself for the next 2. At Home by Brenda Gervais. I'll put a picture up of where it was in January. This project I barely had started, and it was a late 2023 start. So I kind of felt a little guilty working on it to completion, but I worked on it to get the border done and to start in the bottom. And once again, yes, that is a hanging thread there. This is on 40 count Vintage Country Mocha. You can see the colors much better back here. The colors on this are so soft and so beautiful. This is a mix for the thread of what is called for and just what I had. And the only change I plan on making to this is I love a big brick red house, so I'm making my house red. Pinky red. We'll see what it looks like when I'm done. That's the plan. Next project. I thought I had 2 more. I have 3. This is the Grant House sampler. Grant House 1865 by Chessie and me. I started this with my friend Shelly. She has a Flosstube channel. It's Only Stitching. I'll link her below. Started this last year. Stitching it with mostly the called for. So we figured Grant House and Lincoln House would be 2 good projects to work on in an election year. So Shelly's finished, and I think she might be finished with Lincoln House too. Not sure. This is on a 36 count Atomic Ranch fabric called Pampas Reed. And I will have put a picture in of where it was at the start of the year, and here it is now. I have not worked on this a ton, and once again, yes, that is a needle with a hanging thread, but I've put a few stitches in here and there. I have enjoyed stitching on it. I would like to finish this in the not so distant future. And yeah, not much else to say about that. I think that is the first Chessie me I've ever stitched. So that's kind of fun. Next one, and this is one I did not work on much. This is Savior's Praise by Shakespeare's Peddler. This is another blast in the past. I started this in 2020. So believe it or not, that means this is 4 years old, which is kind of nuts to think about, right? I will put a picture in of where it was when we came into the year. I never worked on it after 2020. And this is where I am now. Not a ton of work, but I feel better about where it is now versus where it was. This is on a 46 count fabric by Victorian Motto. No color. She doesn't really name her fabric colors, I don't think. And it's stitched for the call for threads, which is mostly a mix of DMC with a few anchors, and I think one over dye. And there we are. I would like to stitch on this more. However, I can honestly say this is going on the back burner for the rest of the year for a few reasons. One, I need to rechart the verse because I want to put a different song in where the words are. And second of all, I have realized I can really only focus on one big sampler at a time. I have about 20 big samplers as whips right now. And this is not going to be the next one I focus on. It might be at home. It might be another one that I'm not showing today, but maybe next year. Not this year. I've worked on it this year. It's going away and I'm okay with that. So, all right. I'm going to pause again and I will pull out my new starts for the year and some Stitchy Kindness that I got recently. And I also have my 4 top picks of what I purchased this year. I have really been trying to work on what I have, work on whips, work from stash, but there are 4 things that I bought this year that I'm really excited about. So I will show those to you as well. You can tell it's getting humid because my hair is getting shorter. That's how we measure humidity in this house. How short and how fluffy is Mom's hair. I also had the privilege this year to go to 2 retreats. I went to, both of them were in April. They were very close together. The first one was the Grape Escape, and that was outside of Rochester, New York. It was put on by 2 stitching friends, Jan and Andrea. They did a fantastic job. It was a very small retreat. There were about 30 of us. So it was really a gathering of friends, just to sit in a hotel room and stitch, a little conference room and stitch. I did get to go to Hobby House. Their new location had a soft opening and we were able to go. And I will show one of my stash picks, what I got there. I'll do that at the end, my 4 picks so far of the year. The second retreat I went to was Stitch North in the Greater Toronto area. I went to weekend 2. That is a much larger retreat. There's about 200 people who were there. I went last year, had a fantastic time. I went this year, had an even better time. I didn't know it was possible, but it was absolutely wonderful. Saw everybody there that was there last year and had so much fun, like connecting with them again, and then met a whole group of new people, and it was fantastic. My friend Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world, was there. It was the first time we'd met in person, and it was really it just felt great because, you know, it was just like we've known each other forever, which we have. We just hadn't actually met up in person. sat with a great table of people, and we had the best time. So I'll talk about that when I talk about my starts, because retreats always mean starts, right? So Julie and I always mail each other gifts here and there. We sent each other gifts. We're really bad about mailing it. Both of us are horrible about getting to the post office. So she brought two for me that were hanging around. The first one was Dumpster Fire Friends Forever. We stitched this for each other in 2021, I think, 2022. So we didn't let each other know the colors, and I love it. So, and it's just fantastic. So, little pillow. And the other one that she gave me is was a birthday gift, and I love this so much. Kindred Spirits with our initials and the hearts and the buttons in the corner. Like, I love these so much. When I was pulling them out to show in the video, I was like, I did not appropriately gush about how much I love them at Stitch North, because it was a retreat. If you've been to a retreat, you know, you're like about everything. So thank you, Julie. While I was at Stitch North, I knew that Michelle Bendy from Bendy's Stitchy Designs was going to be there. And my market pick for the year was Rappaccini's Quaker by Michelle. And seeing she was going to be there, I'm like, I got to start it. I ended up sitting with her, and it was fantastic. I chose my own colors to match up close to what was the call for. And I started it there, and I had Michelle stitch on it a little bit too, which was great. And here we are. This is what is done so far. Once again, another needle with a thread. I will get back to this. I would like to finish this to share. It's not a large design. And I love it. This is on a 40 count fabric. It's a Picture This Plus. I don't know what color it is. I knew and now I don't. It's probably somewhere, but it's green. Trying to figure out a place to put it. The next start I did very recently. One of the other stitches that I sat with and had the privilege of meeting with and talking with and becoming friends with is Nuri from Shaded Stitchery. I will put a link to her shop because she is the designer in the box below. Put a link to Michelle's as well. And Nuri released 4 designs for Juneteenth. And I couldn't start them fast enough. I was hoping I would finish them before this video, but not quite. I am almost there. I have a little bit more, probably less than 50 stitches on the Nourish one. And my plan for these, if you can't guess the way they're stitched, is to finish it into a drum. So I am looking forward to that. This is stitched on a literal scrap of 16 count blue Aida. And I love the way it's coming out. Nuri has fantastic designs. Great if you're looking for well-charted designs. The charting's impeccable. And great diversity and just fun designs too. She has a Bridgerton design. Go check her out. So my next start is also a Nuri from Shaded Stitchery Designs. So our table from Stitch North decided to all start Nuri's newest design. And it is called Taking Up Space. I would have put a picture up of what the design will look like when it's done. And this is my start. I had a hard time putting this down. It was very fun to stitch up to this point. I'm sure the whole thing is gonna be fun to stitch, but I've only stitched a quarter of it. This is stitched with her called for DMC on 32 count fiber on a whim. Tag is here, it's Latte. So those are my starts. And I said, like, I have a half start. I joined an Ink Circles round robin with Julie, Memphis Sarah E, and who is a Flosstubers channel, and Karen Kirk, who is one of the Fox and Rabbit designers, fabric dyers. And how these work is you stitch a quarter of one of the mandala designs, and then you get into a group of 4 stitchers, and everybody stitches 1/4 on each. So you're not stitching the same thing 4 times. It's brilliant. I'll put a picture in of mine. I stitched it and handed it off to Julie at Stitch North. I chose Reflections of Ireland, and I am stitching it with 2 things from Stash, threads from Stash, a green silk and a gold silk. Julie handed me off hers. It is called Lace Flowers. I need to get to it. I haven't stitched on it yet. Let's pull hers out while we're here. And hers is beautiful too. So she stitched her quarter. I need to stitch another quarter and mail it off. And I really should do that soon. So if you've ever wanted to stitch in Ink Circles mandala, but don't want to stitch it 4 times, there's a great option for you. So that's my half start. I didn't really count it as a start, which means I can't really count it as a finish either, but that's fine. All right, so not a lot of starts, not a ton of projects for half a year, but I feel like I've gotten good progress on all of them. I have enjoyed my stitching time, and I look forward to continuing on with the same projects and pulling some more in from my backlog and starting a few new things here and there. So basically stitching as usual. So now, as I reach over, let me talk about my 4 picks for the year so far. I have more cross stitch than I could ever stitch. I've been stitching since I was a teenager. I'm nowhere near a teenager now, and I've been collecting since then too. So I really have been trying to focus on using what I have this year, but I have made a few purchases. Michelle's Rappaccini's Quaker is one of them. My other pick from Market that keeps calling to me and could be a start soon is Stacy Nash. I really don't want to have to take it out. Let's see. That's pretty good. One of the animal crackers, Miss Hazel. I love all the animal crackers, but for some reason, this little squirrel spoke to me. Pick number 2 of the year is also Stacy Nash Designs. And this is an exclusive from Hobby House. Right there. It is, what's the name of it? As the Crow Flies Pin Keep. So I don't think you need to go to Hobby House. You can even order it online. But that was my purchase from there. When I go to a needlework shop, I like to buy something that I just can't get at home or online. I want to buy something that is unique to that shop. So this is my takeaway from Hobby House. And you had the option to have it kitted. So I did. They kitted it up for me, which was fantastic. So everything's in there you need, the linen, the threads, and even the finishing ribbon. So that is pick number 2. Pick number 3, while we were in Canada to go to Stitch North, we went to Gita's. Gita's is a needlework shop in Mississauga. I'm sure I am butchering that name. It is very close, about a half hour away from where the retreat was. And Gita has a shop, but they also have designs that, you know, unique to them. So I picked up this one here. Is called Bird of Paradise. I saw this on the wall. This picture does not do it justice at all. This is absolutely stunning. I may have talked Julie into getting it too. So need to start it. It's not that huge. I mean, it's 213 by 300, and you're like, Amy, 300's big. But the actual stitched area isn't as big as one would think. A lot of it is that border. So, and it's all DMC, anchor, and blending, and one blending filament, and just one bead is probably for the bird's eye. So, love it. So once again, something that is very unique to that shop that I could bring home. And the last item is, people talk about like their unicorns. What's your unicorn chart? I don't really feel like I have any unicorns at this point because I, as I said, have more than I could ever stitch. I do have charts that, like, if they come up at a good price, I might buy. And this was one of them. It had eluded me in the past. I've missed out on it. But like I said, it wasn't a big deal. I have other things to stitch. But I did see it come up. I managed to snag it at a very good price. And it's Mary Peacock, Ackworth Sampler from Needleprint Press. I have several of these Needleprint Press charts. I had purchased them when they first came out, which I think was the early 2000s. Stitchy Box is reproducing, has the rights to reproduce a number of them. This one they do not, because I actually contacted her and she said that she doesn't have the rights for this one. So when I saw it come up, I bought it. I have wanted to stitch this one for a very long time. It's one of the ones I regret not buying. So this will likely be a start sooner rather than later. I am currently in my works in progress. Not currently stitching it because I haven't stitched on it this year, but I am stitching on the Beatrix Potter sampler, which originally was from Needleprint Press. And that's one that I kind of have marked in my head that could be a finish this year. And I would like to pull out the second half of the year to work on. I will not start this until I finish Beatrix Potter. And that's all the cross stitch for the first 6 months of the year. It's been a great stitchy year so far. Like I said, I have stitches about every day, not a lot most days, but you know, life is lifing and you go with the flow. You stitch when you can, and when you can't, you say, that's okay. It'll be there when I come back to it. I am going to talk about my top 3 books for the year. If you're not interested, feel free to shut me off and say see you later. If you did hang out this long, thank you so much. If you have been with me a long time, thank you for continuing to come back. I know I have been a very sporadic floss tuber the last 3 years. If you're just finding me and stuck around, thank you. There are a million floss tubers out there, and it really means a lot to me that you stopped to my channel and just stopped to see what I had to show you. So I am going to talk about my 3 top books of the year. I took a few notes just to be a little bit coherent here. The first 2 aren't in any particular order. My top book is definitely my top book of the year, and I will talk about that one last. I'm going to talk about them very briefly, probably about 2 minutes, not even per book. So the first book I'm going to talk about, and I'll put the cover up here, is called Dead of Night, and it is by Simon Scarrow. This is the second book in a series. The first book is called Blackout. Both of these books right now are available on Kindle Unlimited if you have that service. I took them out from my library. Yes, I still use the library even though we have a lot of books. My sweet spot for books, I really love historical fiction. I really love nonfiction. I really love mystery. And as you're looking over here, there's a ton of sci-fi. This is my husband's shelf. So, not that I won't read everything, but that tends to be my go-to. So Dead of Night is a historical fiction book, and it's a mystery. So it hits like 2 of my 3 genres right there. It takes place in January 1940, and it takes place in Germany. So it is a police procedural mystery book, Murder, which takes place in Nazi Germany. So is it a World War II book? Not really. It happens to take place during World War II, but it's really more about the people and their relationships and the mystery, solving the murder. And during the book, the characters are starting to realize what is going on around them in their country and outside of their country. This is the second book in a series. It's not a standalone. I mean, you can read it without reading the first one, but the same characters are in both books, and the characters are definitely imperfect, which is something else I like. I don't like having perfect characters in a book. And they really develop these characters between the first book and the second book. So if you're interested, I would recommend going back to read the first book, which is called Blackout. And I think I'll try to put that picture up too. So yeah, so that was one of my top 3 picks. The next pick is The Woman by Kristen Hanna. And I'll cover that up as well. This book starts in 1965 during the Vietnam War. I have never read a Kristen Hanna book before. I know she has written many books, and I found out, like, after I read this book, it was kind of reading about it, that she's either love it or hate it type of writer. I was neutral, so I didn't fit into the love it or hate it. I didn't love this book. And you're like, Amy, it made your top 3. How could you not love it? It made my top 3 because it really made me think. Not every book I love is going to make an impact on me. And a lot of times books that I don't love make an impact on me. And this book did make an impact. As I said, starts in 1965, and the main character is a woman named Frankie. And in 1965, her brother goes to fight in the Vietnam War. And in her family, when men go to fight or during the service, they are called heroes. And Frankie is very close to her brother, and she wants to be a hero too. And she signs on to be a nurse with the Army to go follow her brother. And this book takes place over about 20 years, maybe more, maybe 25. And lots of imperfect characters, lots of imperfect situations. Really a hard book to read at points because of the fact that it is a war book. And as we know, war is not a feel-good scenario. Yeah, definitely hard to read at points. For me, I found this book, I didn't particularly care for the writing style, and I felt like, but I did feel that it brought up important things for me to think about. One, I do not know a lot about the Vietnam War. I am old, but I don't remember the Vietnam War. So for me, it kind of made me look more into that period in my country's history. In the Vietnam War, the veterans were not treated fantastic. It was so I didn't, it made me research more, it made me learn more. And for me, that is why I like reading a historical fiction book. If it makes me think, if it makes me read, if it makes me learn and expand my horizons, then even if I dislike the book, it's going to make my top list. So, one of the things that this author kept saying in the book, and it's the title, The Woman, is that women are always forgotten in war. Women are always at war. Women are always part of wars, but they are not remembered. Especially if you're, you never remembered if you're a woman, you never remembered if you're not a white woman. And that was, a very interesting takeaway, and something to remember. All right, if you're still here, because this is getting long, I have no idea how long this actual video is. So yeah, so if you're interested, I would recommend The Woman, but like I said, I didn't love the book, but I love the fact that it made me dig deeper and research and learn more. My top book of the year, by far, and I can tell you December 31st, I most likely am going to feel the same way. My top book is The Frozen River, and it is by Ariel Lawton. Fantastic. Loved, loved, loved this book. It took me a good 50 to 75 pages to get into the book, but once I did, I could not put it down. This book is based on the life of, or a period in the life of Martha Ballard, who was a midwife in 1789 Maine. Martha is a real person. We only know about Martha because Martha kept a journal. And because she had a written record, we know about her. Otherwise, we would know nothing about Martha. So, continuing from the theme of the last book, women are forgotten. And we only know about Martha because she could write and she left a written record. Frozen River takes place in post-revolutionary Maine. And it, once again, is a bit of a murder mystery. So another one of my sweet spots. So it is based on an event that happened in the town where Martha lived at that time. Obviously, there's a lot of liberty taken with the story. I enjoyed this book because in some ways the writing style and the storytelling reminded me of Outlander. And I am also very partial to books set in New England. And I had heard of Martha, but I have never read her journals or read a nonfiction book about her. And after feeling like I lived in Maine while reading that book through a very cold winter, I am looking forward to reading more about Martha. So, top book of the year, The Frozen River. And that is it. That's enough, right? Thank you so much for sticking around and staying with me. I hope to be back in the not so distant future. I really have not had a lot of content to show, which is one of the reasons why I have not filmed regularly this year. If I'm only stitching on 2 whips in a month, it makes a very boring floss tube. But maybe I should just come on and show those 2. And it is what it is. I can talk about a book or 2 as well. Thank you so much and have a happy stitchy day. And I will see you next time.